Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to the first look series here on YouTube, yet again. But I'm not going over a specific team because if you have been on social media over the course of the past couple of days, we've had some very, I would say, dramatic things like happen in our sport over the last couple of days. Most notably being the Brandon Sorsby news in terms of him checking himself into a rehab facility in order to go ahead and deal with a gambling addiction that he's currently dealing with in his personal life. And before I kind of go into what's going to happen and how that's going to affect things from a football perspective, I do want to go ahead and talk to Brandon Sorsby, the person, because I'm extremely proud of him because that is an extremely brave thing to do, to look your addiction in the eye and realize you need to go get help, you need those professional resources, and then going out and getting those professional resources so that Brandon Sorsby can continue to have a long and happy life. Because we've seen this from our college athletes and our professional athletes continuously and increasingly deal with mental health issues, and that led to the untimely death of Rondell Moore that we saw earlier in the offseason as well. So they're very proud of Brandon Sorsby, the person, to go out and get the professional help that he needs to get over that gambling addiction, because addiction, regardless of what it looks like, it's hard to overcome, and especially on your own. So very proud of him for being able to go out there and do that. Now, going over to the football side of things in terms of how this affects the first look series. So, if you recall, I did reveal one of my top 25 teams in depth in the Penn State Nittany Lions. And originally, what happened here was that Texas Tech was going to be ranked ahead of Penn State. I thought Texas Tech was going to be my odds on favorite to win the Big 12. And with this Brandon Sorsby news, you go from having someone that's going to be a strength at the quarterback position to now, at best, it's a question mark depending on if Will Hammond is able to come back from his ACL injury from last year, or even worse, it could turn into a liability given what possibly was going to be originally your QB free battle, now turning into your quarterback one battle, depending on what happens to Will Hammond. So that could turn into a weakness for the Texas Tech football team in 2026. And because of that, I did end up moving Penn State in front of going into Texas Tech, going into this upcoming season. Now, with that being said, because of the Brandon Sorsby news, I have made an adjustment to my rankings. So now Penn State originally checked in as my number 17 ranked team in the nation. Well, now they check in at number 16. They will move ahead of the Texas Tech Red Raiders, at least one of a handful of teams that will be doing that. And I also made a slight adjustment as well to a handful of teams based on what I've been hearing in spring ball. So after the conclusion of the Penn State video, I did hear some positive things about spring ball, made a slight adjustment. And what that did was to the Northwestern game. The Northwestern game was on the very tip of barely being inside that toss-up territory for me. Now it moves into a safe win for the Nittany Lions. So doesn't change the overall record. I still have Penn State going 10 and 2, going into the 2026 campaign, at least how things stand in the springtime. But the floor is now a little bit higher. Instead of a floor of a 8 and 4 team at worst, you're talking about Penn State finishing as a 9 and 3 team at worst, with that being the floor of your football team this fall. So definitely wanted to get that out there and get that out of the way. Again, really hoping that Brandon Sorsby does get the help that he needs, but from a first look perspective, I definitely want to adjust that because again, I originally did have Penn State as my number 17th ranked team in the nation. They're up one spot now. So definitely want to sign in and let you guys know what's going on in terms of what the impact is on Brandon Sorsby that he's going to have from that perspective of the first look rankings. And next time that I come back on here, we will be back to those regularly scheduled videos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts about the Brandon Sorsby situation down in the comments below. But for now, this is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.